Hi, and welcome to The Mill, a podcast brought to you by Mill & Co., an advertising collective specializing in strategy, creative ideation, and execution. I'm your host, Rachel Ballatori, the founder and CEO of Mill & Co. With us today is Josh Lowery and Greg Cunneyworth. They are co-founders of Makeway Agency. Hi, Josh. Hi, Greg.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Thanks so much for joining us. Makeway is a strategic digital agency that empowers brands by leveraging technology. They design and develop advanced digital solutions for companies like Nalgene, Aramark, and Nationwide. Their process is collaborative and their focus is simple. They help brands obtain and achieve their goals. We've been partnering with Makeway for over a year now, and we've been working on some pretty amazing things, wouldn't you say, guys?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Why don't we jump right in? Just have a couple questions for you. So, of course, during a time like COVID, our world has been thrust into a digital space at a rapid rate more than ever. How have you been able to help clients pivot into a more digital world?
Yeah, I think it's certainly been a bit of a strange last few months for everybody. I think we've had a lot of discussions about it on our end, and I don't think it's really necessarily completely changed digital, but it has. Ever since day one, this is what, for the US at least, it was back in March of 2020, I guess, that kind of things started to change and shift a lot. It accelerated, I think, it just accelerated the, what's the word I'm looking for, I guess, the...
Projection?
Yeah, I guess, of
projection.
Yeah, the trajectory of digital. And just, I think maybe people that or businesses that weren't necessarily going to prioritize implementing some certain digital platforms or solutions as much before, it became a really big need very quickly for a lot of them too. And we even saw it with some of our own clients, even employees on our team that have, family and things like that have, different businesses that relied on those digital solutions. We had one employee in particular where they needed online ordering for their family's restaurant, and we were like, yeah, we're gonna do that really quickly for you, because I think those are the types of things that completely just changed how people thought about buying. I think even just in terms of the relationship between, I order it online, but now I can, I have options to pick up curbside versus just like going to the store to get it. Those types of things that shifted very drastically for the entire world at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg, anything to chime in and add to that?
I think it just emphasized the importance of digital too. I feel like for the companies that may have been, for the most part, getting along just fine without digital tools or a system that didn't involve a digital component, it certainly forced them to need to react relatively quickly in order to stay alive and in order to continue to just thrive or survive the pandemic. So from our perspective, the pandemic and the cause and effect of it sort of just really emphasized the importance of digital components and tools and essentially what we do.
Yeah, well, it's been amazing for I think both of us to kind of experience this shift, because we both of our agencies think very alike in the sense of being strategic and thinking about customization, which actually leads me into my second question, which is when a client comes to you with a complex problem, how do you like to approach that with custom digital solutions, and why is that one of your strong suits?
Yeah, I could take a first crack at that, I guess. Yeah, the thing about what we do is like it's never the same twice, and every client and every project is a little bit different in its own way. So I think the most important thing that we have to do first is listen and do our research and fully understand the context of things, so that we can make sure that we are making sound decisions. We often get asked a lot, if we're approaching a new project, have you done this before? Have you done it in this industry before? A lot of times, yes, because we've been doing this for a while now. Sometimes no, but our response to that is the one thing that's consistent on every project is our process. You're not going to get the same solution. A lot of the things that we build and create and provide for our clients are unique every single project. But the process and how we get from A to B with clients and with their agency partners and whoever we're collaborating with is very consistent. And research, review, asking the right questions to the right people up front is such a huge part of that. So I think knowing that, so that we can then give sound advice and make good decisions that are going to benefit whoever we're working with as best as possible, is super critical.
Yeah, great. I agree. I mean, I think it's been nice to, even just between the two of us, getting to work on projects where we've been able to come to clients with just really simple solutions to something that they didn't think was even possible. And just having consolidation under one roof on one landing page to achieve a lot of results, to some people is mind-blowing. But I think it's the future of where we're headed with digital for those that aren't already there.
Yeah, and I think sometimes clients, sometimes they say, I think I know what the solution's going to be, and I just need you to implement it. And then it might change. It might not work out as planned. At that point, it's a complex. What we provide is complex, and I think it does kind of change, and we have to adapt and be agile for that as the project goes along as well too. So I think just making sure that we're listening and communicating is key.
Yeah. Greg, I have a question for you. For all of our adoring Mill podcast fans, can you give an example of a client project that you worked on that they came to you with a complex problem and the Makeway team was able to come up with a custom digital solution to achieve that?
No, I'm just kidding.
And that's the end of our show. Thank you all so much for coming.
Some of my favorite really are the ones that often have a solution for a digital touchscreen component to it. So the first one, it just has a kind of a good story behind it, is the work that we did for Electrolux. There was a project that we needed to do for them, which ultimately involved a touchscreen, but we didn't know until we actually truly got into the project how complex it was. And at first thought you might just hear like, oh, it's a touchscreen, it's normal digital work. But what we ended up doing was connecting 6,000 of Electrolux products from a database to the touchscreen itself, and bringing in assets and video and components in a really unique way. But then also developing a content management system that allowed the Electrolux team to have an extreme amount of customizability or customization with that CMS. And so on its face, it's like, yeah, it's a touchscreen, but the back end, is so complex. It sort of makes me happy, and I'll be the first to say, like, I'm on the design side, so I have appreciation for it, but I am certainly not the person that's actually doing this. That's more Josh's side of things. And then I would say the other one was another touchscreen that we did for a regional bank, and their main the parameter for the whole project was that there was no internet connected to it. So we had to provide a solution without internet in the best way that we could for their touchscreen and touch table. And we were able to make it work, but those extra parameters that were sometimes dealt with, need to be resolved in the best way that we can, and still get a good product out.
But I think that's a good example of you don't always necessarily know how a project's going to turn out, or what decisions need to be made until you get into it. I mean, we sort of started that project not really knowing what the circumstances were going to be of the bank branches that we were putting technology into it, and then it kind of became clear that for security reasons and different variables with the project, it wasn't going to be really even a factor that we could consider. So I mean, you think of things like collecting analytics from digital products and things like that. I mean, we actually ended up building a custom solution for that so that we could collect analytics offline, and then had the ability to still collect that important data for how users were utilizing the experience, so we could then make sound decisions later on. But a lot of times that's as simple as embedding some sort of analytics solution like Google Analytics or something like that and it streamlines that process. But without internet, that definitely makes it a little bit trickier.
Yeah. If not impossible, but nice work, team. So
That's not impossible, Rachel. Have you met
that's
us?
true. Nothing is impossible with you guys. So for anyone who's watching, or any brands that are watching that are thinking to themselves, I just don't have the money to do a custom digital solution, what would you say to those brands that are struggling with issues, but are there simpler, more affordable, more attainable options that they can get to with a smaller budget?
Yeah. I think I would caution against maybe just assuming that up front. Just because things are advanced, it doesn't mean that they have to completely blow your budget, out the window. And I think there's a lot of ways around that too. I think it's always worth having a conversation up front because, we do free consultations all the time and just have brainstorming conversations, and we're happy to explore what could or could not happen and be realistic with clients to help them out. So it never hurts to ask. I guess I would start there. But, even beyond that, if there are limitations, there's ways that you can, phase out projects and just do part of it now. And then, once you gain some traction with it or buy-in from other stakeholders at the company or the organization, perhaps it opens additional funding where you can then do additional phases. So I think not only are we pretty, I think, strategic in terms of how we build things, but also in terms of how we plan them and make sure that they are actually implemented from a company or organization standpoint. It works on all levels. And I think you can always, the nice thing with digital is you could always do there's different approaches to the same problem. And so you can maybe what the client has in mind is really advanced. Maybe they don't necessarily need advanced right now. Maybe there's a simpler solution that we could then say, this is still going to solve the majority or maybe all of your problem, but we have to look at it from a slightly different angle. And we can help with it. And certainly we'd have to know a lot more about what the issues are, but I think that's where it just goes back to, just have a conversation. We love meeting people and love talking through things, and could probably figure something out.
Absolutely. I mean, Mill & Co. takes the same approach with our own clients and prospective clients of, let's talk, let's see what you need first. I think it's very unusual to have agencies or collectives like Makeway or Mill & Co. that start with the client's needs and budget and back into it from there and say, okay, well, what can we get done within this, knowing that this is your limitation, versus coming at them with this monstrosity of a project that they'll never be able to execute, and therefore leaves them feeling a little bit helpless and that they can't achieve the same results. So I'm sure you've also been reaping the rewards of that, but it makes for better client relationships.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't benefit anyone to over-engineer or develop a project that is just too big for anyone to handle. I think that's where I really agree with Josh and his point about creating an MVP, a minimum viable product. If either the solution is just not fully known yet in terms of how the market's going to react to it or how much budget they're going to get in the future, I think that one of the big benefits is, development and digital tools are not physical pieces of paper. So we can build onto what you initially make and continually evolve it over time as we learn or as more budget gets added to it.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things too, Rachel, I mean, kind of just tacking on to your point about backing into a budget and backing into a scenario and trying to solve for that as well. And one of the things that I think that we really appreciate about working with you is that it's not presenting ideas or solutions for the sake of presenting ideas or solutions, or just to take up clients' budgets for the sake of just giving them something. It's always we both always approach it from the mentality of, how is this adding value? How is this actually a truly an investment for you, not just throwing money out the window on something cool or flashy? And how does it actually make you better as a brand and solve problems, whether they might be externally through marketing or sales or internally through operational type things or communication? And I think that's super critical, is just to make sure that we are providing real value. And I know we kind of share this in in general, but I mean, we have a saying where it's value for value. It's a two-way street, and we have to make sure that we are collaborating and being the best partners that we can with clients.
Yeah, and leading with strategy. It sounds so simple that, you know, I've had some people say to me, "Why would I pay you to think?" And I'm like, "Why would you act without thinking?" You know, and it's mind-blowing, but when you take that approach of we're bringing value to your brand and we're thinking strategically about possible new revenue streams or how to increase engagement, how to drive more traffic to your site for e-commerce, you know, it's all of a sudden light bulbs are going off of like, oh, this is something that I can achieve on my own. So yeah, it's, you know, Makeway, you guys have been an amazing partner to us because we do share so many of those same beliefs and core beliefs when it comes to client service and delivering really impactful creative. Josh and Greg, I can't thank you both enough for your partnership over the years and for joining me today in the mill. You are wonderful members of our little Miller family, and we're looking forward to a lot more projects with you guys. For those of you watching, thank you so much for tuning in. To learn more about Josh, Greg, Makeway, or to follow more Mill & Co. podcasts, please check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Until next time, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Yep.